It's Monday, which only means one thing. The Vikings open their season on the road at Soldier Field versus the Bears. I'm going to share my predictions and analysis ahead of this game and why the Vikings should be concerned about being too predictable. All of that on today's podcast. But first, this podcast is presented by 5-Star Bath Solutions of Minneapolis. If you want your bathroom redone in 48 hours, contact 5-Star Bath Solutions of Minneapolis. They did that for us. New bathroom, new floor, new shower, went from a single to a double. 5-Star Bath Solutions of Minneapolis. Affordable transformations, beautiful solutions. 5-Star Bath Solutions of Minneapolis. The Vikings, the last I checked, were 1.5-point favorites, but the ESPN experts are picking the Bears. The last thing I care about is what an ESPN expert has to say about a football game. Because if anyone has worded it the best, it's Sir Charles Barkley, a man that played in the NBA for over a decade. He said, I'm not an expert about this stuff. I'm just giving my prediction. And here's why I think the Vikings will lose against the Chicago Bears tonight. And it's twofold. One, I think Ben Johnson is the real deal for the Chicago Bears. And what greater evidence than the evidence we saw in the Lions-Packers matchup on Sunday afternoon? The Lions' offense was inept. Key crucial turnovers. Could not score very efficiently or effectively. Jared Goff looked like a quarterback that was over the hill. And now the Chicago Bears have this offensive mastermind, aka mad scientist, as their offensive play caller. I think he's legit, and I think he's someone the Vikings should fear because he thinks outside the box. There is not a better outside the box thinker than Ben Johnson. Just look at the fake fumble Jared Goff pulled off last season against the Chicago Bears. And I think that's something the Vikings should be prepared for. A trick play here, a trick play there by Ben Johnson to debut himself as the Chicago Bears head coach on a national stage. Ben Johnson knows just how much he was sought after as head coach. He understands the pressure he's on to deliver as this great offensive mastermind to bring the Chicago Bears their first ever 4,000-yard passer. So there's a lot of pressure on Ben Johnson. And I think he understands that, which then makes me think he's going to get very creative tonight on a national stage. And if I were the Vikings, if I was Kevin O'Connell, I would take the trick plays Ben Johnson presented and shove it right back up his butthole and pull off a trick play the NFL has never seen before. So that's what I would do if I was Kevin O'Connell. Ben Johnson is being discussed as this next great offensive mastermind. I would take what he does and shove it right back up his a-hole and deliver a trick play if I was the Vikings. So that's reason number one. But reason number two, and I think this is something we can all agree on. The Vikings, I don't think, are going to let J.J. McCarthy bust out of a cannon and throw the ball 30 to 40 times. That is not the recipe for winning his opener when wide receiver 2, Jordan Addison, is out for the first 3 weeks of the season. A player that he had great chemistry with in training camp and in preseason. The recipe is to run the ball, play action, football, and win the game that way. And because that's the recipe the Vikings are formulating, the Bears know that too. Which makes me think the Vikings are going to have a very predictable offense on Monday night because of what they're allowed to do due to J.J. McCarthy's position and his experience. You don't want McCarthy throwing the ball 30 times at Soldier Field on Monday Night Football. If that's the case, something did not go according to plan. And because of that, I think the Vikings are forced to have a predictable offense that's easier to defend for the Chicago Bears. And the Bears, they have a legitimate defense. The Bears' defense these past few seasons has been very, very good. And they've really invested in key players on their defense. You take a look at their 2024 season, and you look at the amount their defense gave up. At the end of the year, they gave up 22 to Green Bay. They gave up 6 points to Seattle in their last 2 games of the season. And earlier in the year, when they were actually legitimate, trying to win games, they gave up 21 to the Colts and 19 to the Texans. They gave up 18 to the Washington Commanders, 20 to the Packers in their first matchup, 23 to Detroit. The Bears' defense is a legitimate defense. They have talented players. So I don't think the Vikings are just going to step into Soldier Field and it's just going to be an offensive blowout. And because of the reasons that I just detailed, I think the Bears win on Monday night. Due to the limitations of the Vikings offense and because of the trick plays that Ben Johnson is going to use on Monday night to show the world that he was worth choosing whatever job that he wanted. Because that was his situation. He got to choose any job that he wanted. All head coach openings were opening up their door for Ben Johnson. And he chose the Chicago Bears. So, final score prediction, I'll say that the Vikings lose 23-20. And they start 0-1. It doesn't mean the season is a failure just because they lose their opener. But I believe with the restrictions of McCarthy offensively, and because of key players missing on the Vikings offense, aka Jordan Addison, it's going to be more predictable. Thanks for watching this podcast today or listening. Remember, this was brought to you by 5-Star Bath Solutions of Minneapolis. If you want your bathroom transformation done in as little as 48 hours, contact 5-Star Bath Solutions of Minneapolis. Beautiful transformations, affordable solutions. 5-Star Bath Solutions of Minneapolis.